Alright guys, today I'm talking about section 1.4. It's called Evaluate, Simplify, and Solve. So when you're doing math and you're doing math worksheets, you see these words a lot. Evaluate, simplify, and solve. They all have slightly different meanings, and the purpose of section 1.4 is to help us to see what the difference is, to know what we're doing when we are working through a problem. So to start out with, let's talk about the difference between a math expression and a math equation. Okay, so a math expression can be anything that has a plus or minus, any math expression or math operation between numbers. So like 5 plus 3 times 2 is an expression. It could be something like 10x minus 5. That's an expression. It's an expression because there's no equal sign in the problem. An equation, on the other hand, always is going to have an equal sign. So like 10x equals 2, that's an equation because it has an equal sign. 5x minus 3 equals 7, an equation because of the equal sign. So if we're asked to evaluate an expression, okay, first of all, we're going to be looking for an expression. Second of all, it's going to tell you what the variable in the expression is. So if, for example, if I have this 10x plus 10x minus 5 as my expression, and it tells me for x equals 2, okay, what it means to evaluate that is to take this x equals 2 and replace the x in the expression with 2, and then just finish simplifying. So 10 times 2 is 20, and 20 minus 5 equals 15. Okay, so we just evaluated this expression at x equals 2. Okay, another example might be 2x minus 3 for x equals negative 5. Okay, again, if I see that it tells me what the variable is equal to, I know I'm going to be evaluating and I'm going to be plugging that number in for the variable. So 2 times negative 5 minus 3. So I'm evaluating 2x minus 3 at x equals negative 5. That would give me negative 10 minus 3, which equals negative 13. Okay, I evaluated the expression. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So simplify. Now simplify can be a little bit trickier to recognize which one you're doing, because anytime you are combining numbers through addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, you're simplifying them. But for our purposes today, what we're going to talk about when we're talking about simplifying is, again, an expression. These expressions, most of the time, will have things that we can do to add things together and to multiply things and to combine terms. But there will be no equal sign. Okay, we're not solving the equation, we're simplifying it. So here, 3 and 2 are multiplied together. I can go ahead and simplify 3 times 2, that would be 6. 10x plus 3x, 10x and 3x are what we call like terms because they both have the same variable with the same exponent, which in this case would just be 1 if you don't see it, right? So I can add these two together because they're like terms. So 10x's plus 3x's is equal to 13x's. So now 6 and 13x, I can't combine those because the 13 is talking about x's and the 6 is just a 6. So they're not like terms. So this is as far as this expression can be simplified, 6 plus 13x. So when you're looking for problems that are going to be simplified, you're really just looking for something that does not have an equal sign in it, and you're trying to condense everything down as much as possible. Okay, so when you're evaluating and when you're solving, you're also going to be simplifying, but if the main thing you're doing is just combining and adding things together, then you're just simplifying. We're not evaluating, we're not plugging anything in for x here. We're not solving because there's no equal sign. You can't solve unless there's an equal sign. So our last term is called solving. And if we are going to solve, we do need an equation instead of an expression. So I can't just have numbers and letters added and subtracted and multiplied and divided together. I would also need an equal sign somewhere in there. So if I have 5x plus 3 equals 13, okay, that equal sign tips me off that it's solving that I'm going to be doing here. Okay, I want to solve for x. What does x equal is what I'm trying to find. Right? When you're solving, you're trying to find what value of the variable makes this equation true. So in order to solve this, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. This would be 5x equals 10. Divide both sides by 5, and x equals 2. So I solved the equation for x. Now in order to solve for x, I did have to do a little bit of simplifying, right? And now that I know what x is, I can plug it back in and make sure it's true, and I would be evaluating this side to make sure it equals 13. Okay, but notice the difference between the three terms. Evaluate means take whatever the variable is equal to and plug it in. Simplify means you're just looking and combining like things together. Solve means there has to be an equal sign in your equation, and you're going to be solving for the variable. Find out what the variable is that makes this equation true. Okay. So let's just look at a couple of different examples. So if I have the following expressions and equations, like 3x plus 3 times 2 and 5x minus 7, 4x equals 4, and 2x plus 6 equals 14, and 5x minus 7 plus 10x, and 6x minus 3, 4x equals 5, and 2x equals 10. Okay. So you're going to be given a bunch of equations and expressions like this, and you're going to be asking, which one would I need to do? Do I need to evaluate, simplify, or solve? Okay, so I guess we'll call it eval, simp, and solve. So this first expression here, 3x plus 3 times 2, there's no equal sign, so I already know I'm not solving, right? I can't solve unless there's an equal sign in the equation. If I knew what x was, I could evaluate for x, or I could evaluate the expression with x equaling whatever number. But because it doesn't tell me what x equals here, the only thing I can do here is I can simplify. Okay, remember, simplify just means I want to take any numbers that I can, multiply, divide, add, subtract together, and go ahead and do it so that it's in the most condensed form possible. So if I actually were to simplify this, the only thing I can really do here is multiply 3 and 2 together. So I would get 3x plus 6, and that would be the simplified version of that expression. But again, I can't evaluate it because I don't know what x is, and I can't solve it because there's no equal sign here. The second expression, 5x minus 7, gives me what x equals to. It says evaluate, well, it doesn't say because we're supposed to decide, are we evaluating, simplifying, and solving. But since it tells me what x is, x equals 4, I know I want to plug 4 in where that x is and evaluate the expression. So 5 times 4 minus 7, 5 times 4 is 20, and 20 minus 7 is 3. So I evaluated this expression when x equals 4. The reason I knew I was going to evaluate is because, first of all, this was an expression, not an equation. There was no equal sign here. And then it told me what the variable was equal to. So I knew I needed to evaluate. Okay. This third one, 2x plus 6 equals 14. Okay, that equals 14 right there tells me I can solve this. This is a solving expression. Or equation, sorry. So 2x plus 6 equals 14. I can go ahead and solve that, right? I can subtract 6 from both sides and get 2x equals 8. And then I can divide both sides by, oops, not by x, by 2. And that gives me x all by itself on one side. X equals 4. So I solved the equation for the missing variable, which was 4. Okay? So it's only solve if there's an equal sign in it. If there's no equal sign, it's got to be either evaluate or simplify. It's going to be evaluate only when it tells you what the variable is equal to. Okay. So this fourth one, 5x minus 7 plus 10x, there's no equal sign here, so it can't be solved. It doesn't tell me what x is equal to. It's not giving me the variable, so it's not evaluate. I can simplify this by adding 5x plus 10x is 15x minus 7. Okay, that's as far as I can simplify it, again, because 15 has an x with it and 7 doesn't. Okay, 6x minus 3, 4x equals 5. So again, because this part has no equal sign, I know I can't solve it. Because it's telling me what the variable equals, I know I'm going to be plugging it in and evaluating. So this would be evaluate. Alright, this one was simplify. Forgot to write it. Okay, so I'm going to evaluate this by plugging the 5 in where the x is. So this would be 30 minus 3 or 27. Okay. So on your worksheet, I think it just asks you to state which one would I do. Would I simplify, evaluate, or solve? So you're just looking for those equal signs to see if it's an equation. If it's an equation, it's solve. If it doesn't have an equal sign, you know it's going to be evaluate or simplify. The way you tell the difference is because if it's evaluate, it's going to tell you what the variable equals. So our last one has an equal sign in the equation, so I know it's solve. And it doesn't actually ask you on the first part, I don't think, to actually simplify, evaluate, or solve. Just tell me which one you would do. Divide both sides by 2 here would give me 5. So if you actually are asked to solve or simplify or evaluate, go ahead and do it. But if it doesn't ask you, go ahead and just write which one of these words you would use here. Okay? Alright guys, good luck, and we'll see you next time.